Thank you for joining me on this video. You know, if you've ever taken my Money Machine seminar, watched a series of these videos, or read any of the articles I've written, you'll know that I'm a big believer in delegation. I tell people to delegate, and there's an illustration I use. I say, let's suppose you're a plumber and you buy investment property, and you receive a phone call from one of the properties, and the tenant says, my tap is dripping. I tell people, call a plumber, don't be the plumber. And I always get flack about that. People say, well, why would I spend money to have somebody else do what I can do myself? And off they go. And you know, I suppose if you are retired, you got all kinds of time in your hands, and you're looking for something to do to fill your time, it's okay to go look after those type of properties, or cut the grass, or solve those type of problems, or count the bricks. You can do that. But as soon as those calls become an irritant, you just sort of dread picking up the phone, it's time to stop hands on solving the problem and make a phone call and have somebody else solve the problem because you delegate. Nothing drives landlords out of the business quicker than the constant irritant of issues that need to be attended to where they attend themselves. Remember, you're an investor. You're not looking for a second occupation. You're looking for an investment. But there is one thing in this whole scheme of being an investor in residential property that I tell people, you want to hang on to yourself. You don't want to delegate. One thing is acquiring the property. When you know, it's not hard to acquire a property. I should start by saying, you know, if it's good structurally, it's in a good location, will attract good tenants. You look at the numbers, the cash flows, you can't go wrong. You'll be happy with that property. But when you go through properties and have a look at properties, there are some properties that just talk to you. They just speak to you. They just resonate. You know that that's a property I need to have. And that's the property you want to buy. And nobody else can relate the way you can relate to it. You need to be a hands-on guy making that decision. But the second decision that's really critical that you make and don't pass on to somebody else is selecting the tenant. You know, it's a little bit like an arranged marriage. People can arrange a marriage and sometimes they work, but you've got to live with the results. So you want to have some input into that decision. And you're entering into a hopefully long-range relationship with a tenant. You want some involvement. Now you can hire a property manager that not only looks after the squeaks and leaks and tap dripping, but also finds tenants for you, and they can screen the tenants. But I think the ultimate decision of who enters that unit as a tenant needs to be yours, not the tenant's. Now I understand when you get a call from a tenant giving you notice, it's always a nuisance. You think, I got to go through this process. I've got to show the property. You know, and you make appointments, and half the time the tenants who are going to look at the property don't show up, and you've got to make arrangements with the existing tenant and work around his schedule. It's a lot of nuisance. It's a lot easier to have somebody do it. And I know that even in real estate, you can have a realtor look after it. You can put it on MLS, and I don't do that. I'm a big believer in real estate. I'm in real estate. But it's easy for somebody to have met a prospective tenant, show them through a property, fill out an application, and they're sold on you accepting that application, but your criteria be maybe more stringent than theirs. You don't want to get into the, well, I don't want to because of this, I don't want to because of that. So I keep it myself. I handle that process. And sometimes I'll wait till the unit becomes vacant, so I'm not disturbing the existing tenant. Once it's vacant, I will set up a time, almost like an open house, an hour bracket when I say, meet me between 3 and 4, and I make a number of appointments. Then if some of them don't show up, it's not a wasted trip for me because some of them do, and it gives me a chance to meet them. And meeting them face to face is really a valuable experience. It gives you a chance to kind of with your gut, evaluate them, talk to them, get in conversation. Can you engage in a conversation with them? How do they strike you? And they'll do the same thing. They want to find a landlord who's going to be responsive and caring and a good person to work with moving forward. So you kind of feel each other out and understand they're on their best behavior. They know what you're looking for and they're going to answer the questions right. But you get a sense when that first meeting, and I found too that if I'm developing a relationship with these prospective tenants and I give them an application form, I'm much more likely to get a completed application form than if somebody else just hands them a sheet of paper after they breeze through the apartment. Once you get the application form, now your homework really begins. You got to take a look at the past track record. That's hugely important. I'll tell you, if they move every 6 months, they're going to move in 6 months from you. You don't want them. So you want to look at why they're moving, how often they move. You want to talk to them about their situation, go through it, talk to the current landlords, talk to the past landlords. Do your homework before you make a commitment, before you take a check, and before you hand over the keys. But the starting point, I'm convinced, is meeting them on the front lines, and nobody can do that better than you can. Thanks for joining me in this video. I'll talk to you again next week.